please welcome Harrison Greenbaum!
It's magic time. What time is it? It's magic time. Every song, it has to rhyme. Does it rhyme? Well, it's magic time. I said it's magic time. It's magic time. What time is it? It's magic time. You see the magic trick because it's magic time. It's magic time. What time is it? It's magic time.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you guys for coming out to my workshop. This is very exciting. What a diverse group of white people. Wow, there are people here in their 60s and 70s. How great. You guys are here for a talk called You're All Terrible. That's just, you're terrible, but we're going to fix that. Hopefully, maybe. A little bit about me. I was on America's Got Talent. I was eliminated. I was on Last Comic Standing. I was eliminated. I taped Fool Us. They're not even going to air it. And I just taped for Comedy Central on Sunday. Who knows? I also had a column for Jeannie. It was canceled, but in my defense, it was a humor column edited by somebody who's autistic. So, no, it's fine. It's fine. I ran the joke by Richard, and he still didn't get it. This is my column. It was called You're All Terrible. It ran in Jeannie. I set a record in Jeannie for most use of the word penis. The previous record was 0. And I did it every time. Every time I put the word penis in. And also the first abortion joke in Jeannie. So, pretty good. I was in The Illusionist. I did Illusionist Kazakhstan. Yeah. Pretty good. That's me. Look at that face. I don't want to be even on the poster. But I did it. It's actually, by the way, it's a 70% Muslim country. I know it sounds difficult, but we toured with hundreds of thousands of dollars of illusions. Like we had a girl and she would disappear and she'd reappear in the audience, right? But it's Kazakhstan, 70% Muslim, so they're in burqas. It's a very easy trip. So easy. She's there. You're gonna have to trust us. These are your rules, not ours. What, our eye color is different? That's the second trick. Disclaimer. I'm going to do my best to keep it appropriate, but I probably won't. So if you're faint of heart or religious, this is your time to go. Okay, it's on you now. Perfect. Just as a child walks in. Disclaimer. Okay. How old is that child? It doesn't matter. Okay. Also, I'm going to be roasting people. The idea behind roasting somebody is you only roast the ones you love. So the people I'm making fun of are people that I respect, except when I don't, and that's for you to figure it out. All right, so this is a lecture I've been giving, by the way, since 2016. This was my breakdown before. It's been pretty, this is 2016, this was white men over 60, and this is women and minorities. 2017, not much of a change. 2018, still not a change, but get this, 2019, this year, big change. That was amazing. Look at that, my God, it just doubled. We're reaching Republican Party levels here, and that's so exciting. It's just, while we're talking about women, and I have a whole room of magicians, PSA, there'd be more women in magic if you weren't so creepy. Don't be creepy. There'd be more if you weren't so weird. Also, stop calling them female magicians. They're magicians. You don't go, wow, I'm such a good woman doctor. You have a good doctor. Stop it. Every magic lecture, by the way, has a good quote. You gotta kick it off, because you have to know about your magic history. So here's a fun quote from Harry Keller. There's no reality, just this world of illusion that keeps on haunting me. And it's important. People are nodding. This is not actually Keller. This is Keller. Now some more people are nodding. That's not Keller. That's Keller. And also this quote is not from Keller. It's from Chris Angel. That's from his theme song. There's no reality. Okay, enough of that. By the way, there's a quote, Eugene Berger, nobody ever does the whole quote, and that's so sad, because he said, you remember the House of Magic has many rooms? That's only half. It's the House of Magic has many rooms, and yet most magicians spend all their time in the closet. Otherwise, we leave off this part. Eugene Berger, hashtag too soon, hashtag sorry, hashtag not sorry, hashtag this is a comedy lecture, get over yourself. What you won't see. You won't see any more dumb magic quotes. You won't see any more pie charts. Although I'm in a room full of magicians, I just said pie, half of you are hungry, mentalism. How do you know? You also won't see any tricks at all because you have enough. Seriously, you do. My wife told me to tell you. Told me to tell you. You have too many tricks. The whole point is you guys all have garages full. You guys go on magic surplus. You don't need any more tricks. What you need to do is come up with original ideas and use those tricks to express them. And that's what this talk will be about, okay? What you will see the art section. This is a two-part lecture. We're going to talk about art, and then we're going to talk about comedy. The art part is about being more original, which is, I was booked for this 6 months ago, but it's fun. Magic as art. That's what we're going to talk about, right? We all think magic is art, but I would argue that most of the magic you see, even here, doesn't qualify as art. We're going to talk about why that is. You're also going to get a solution for thinning hair. Yeah. So important. That's going to be helpful. I can see it. You, sir, you get, this is a shampoo for my hotel room. That's for you. And that should last about a decade. So that's good. Solution for thinning hair. We got, how do you currently create magic? We're going to talk about that. And we're also, more importantly, going to talk about how should you create magic, right? Because what you're doing, I would argue, is backwards from what you should be doing. There'll also be a joke involving Debreezy. So that's fun. Comedy, be funnier. This is the comedy part of the lecture. You will learn how can you make your jokes funny or funnier. That'll be what I'll try to break it down, give you some real steps, actionable things you can do to become a funnier performer. You will see a boy get injured in a hilarious fashion. That's coming. So you look forward to that. It's a treat. How can rules that make comedy better make your magic better, funny or not? Even if you're a very serious magic, you're just a guy with masks who does mime, we can still make you better because the comedy rules are often magic rules. Comedy structure is very similar, if not identical, to magic structure, so knowing these rules will help you either way. You'll also see a joke involving Anne Franks. That's fun. Yeah. You know what's interesting? If you got more offended by the Debreezy part and less by the Anne Frank, you need to reevaluate your priorities. There's also going to be a secret algorithm of comedy. That's going to be something that I do 600, 700 shows a year as a comedian, and so I think it's really important to learn lessons from those comedians. And this is going to be how you can take your performances to the next level. Go from being good to being really, really great. And that we'll end with the greatest magic review ever published. Yeah. Yes, it has nothing to do with this talk, but it's fun anyway, so stick around. So we will all be less terrible. That's the idea. So, yeah, we just applauded for the intro part, but that's cool. Art, be more original. Let's talk about originality. Creating art. So I would argue, this is my opinion, that most magic, too many magicians are performing tricks they didn't invent, with scripts they did not write, based on performances they saw someone else do, and then they still call that art. That's not art, that's a cover band. You're a cover band. Most of you here are cover bands, right? That's the problem with art, is that you're not the Beatles, you're a Beatles cover band, but you walk around like you're fucking John Lennon. That's a problem. Yes, your audience doesn't know you didn't write the song, but we know, you know in your heart. Right? The idea here is imagine if you created your own stuff. Wouldn't that be amazing? How do most artists create? That's a really important thing. Let's just talk about painters, right? We recognize them as artists. How does a painter work? So he decides on an idea, or she decides on an idea, and I like nature. Nature's beautiful. I want to capture the sky. So that's the idea. I want to paint the sky. I want to show the world the way I see the sky. At that point, after the idea, they come up with techniques, right? Is it going to be acrylic? Is it going to be watercolor? Is it going to be clouds? Is it going to be people? Is it going to be literal? Is it going to be psychedelic? We don't know. But at that point, we start to filter those ideas and techniques. It's all filtered through the artist's voice. So our expression of the sky, the original idea, is unique to us. It reflects our point of view. So here's a good example. This is Bob Ross, right? And his idea is clouds, and his technique is marijuana. How do magicians create? They do it backwards, right? They discover a cool trick or a technique. They figure out a way to present it that may or may not be unique. And then they hope that it expresses some kind of authentic idea, but if it doesn't, hey, at least it was a cool trick. I think one of the problems in magic is that if we fool people, we feel like our job is entirely done, right? I made the lady float, they never saw the wires, I did it. You need to hold yourself to a higher standard than they didn't see the wires. If that's all you get out of your magic, that's not enough. The idea is you come up with an idea first, and your magic is a way to present that unique idea to the world. That's how actual art works. So let's talk about a specific example. I'm an artist, right? So I want to paint a nude woman. That's been done for thousands of years. So I figure out the best techniques to capture the skin tone and the form. Am I going to use a model? Am I going to work from a photograph? Am I going to have a real woman, or is it a fantasy woman, or is it the nightmare? What am I trying to express? Acrylic paint, watercolor, what am I doing? I have an idea that I'm starting to think about the technique, and I filter that through my unique artist voice, and boom, there is Picasso's version of a nude woman. This painting is called 4 out of 10. At best. So, let's see a magician's approach to the same topic, right? The magician goes to the magic store. He sees that the latest release is a video on painting nude women, right? So then they come up with some story about his grandfather. What showed him a nude woman, you know? And it reminds me of my childhood. I used that technique I bought to illustrate it. And then I banned it performing at children's birthday parties ever again. While we're on the topic, and I have a bunch of magicians in this room, don't touch kids. Please don't do it. Don't do it. Stop it. It's really bad that anytime I get a call and I find out some magician has been arrested, I always go, where did he touch them? That's not good. In 2013, a friend of mine was arrested who was a magician, and I got the call. I was like, oh God, what did he do? Who did he do it to? And they found out he was a bank robber, and I was relieved. I physically was like, thank God. That's bad, but I'm like, thank God he's a bank robber. At least it didn't involve children. Don't touch him. This is the iPhone theory of magic. This is a photo, and this is, by the way, what he's thinking and what she's thinking. Too many people are going to the magic store and they're buying the iPhone, and all they're doing is changing the case. Okay, in the instructions it said I went to China, but now I'm going to say that I went to Japan. That's not enough of a change. Everybody seems to be running around with iPhones or changing the case from red to blue and thinking the work is done. That's not how art is created. It's how a cover band might work, but it's not how you guys should be working. If you guys want to be great, if you want to be an artist, you have to go way further than that. How do you create magic that is art? Okay, I'm not all about the problems. I will tell you the solution. The solution is figure out what you want to say. This should be freeing. This should be exciting. When you come up with a new magic trick, you sit down at your table, you have a blank piece of paper or a blank computer screen, and you just start to figure out what is your dream effect or show. I want to fly into the room naked and then start throwing sausages to all of the hungry masses. Maybe that's my weird idea. I don't know why you would do it, but if that's your idea, fine. And now I can spend the rest of the time figuring out technique at that point. Right? I have the idea, now I'm going to figure out what are the magic ways of figuring it out. Okay, do I have any friends who know about levitation and or sausages? I might call them. Do I have any books on it? That would be really helpful. I start to build up the knowledge to make my dream show in my head real. That's how you create art. So you filter that through your unique voice, that's very important. And art, by the way, if you're looking for a definition, is the artist's expression of a universal idea within narrow constraints. Okay. This is the Price is Right trick. By the way, this is an old photo because I had all my hair when I started doing the trick. And I have a solution for thinning hair. Check it out. Fixed it. Okay. Isn't that fun? That's a weird choice that I had to make in my 30s, right? Either I could look like a young Jew or an old atheist. Those were the choices. It's like a weird bald spot, right? It's like when you leave something on the lawn and the grass dies underneath it. It's like that over the alley. How did I come up with the Price is Right trick? I will walk you through it briefly just so you have an idea of what it looks like in practice. I have a joke in my act about the Price is Right. I start out by saying, I love The Price is Right. I've always wanted to be on The Price is Right, but I never be on The Price is Right because I am Jewish. I'd be too frustrated. Like in my mind, the host would be like, how much is that chair? Like, I don't know, $40. Like, actual retail value, $80. I'd be like, screw you. I have a coupon. That joke comes from a very, very real thing in my life. My family loves The Price is Right. My sister always wanted to be on the show. We finally flew out when she turned 18 because my mom had promised her that if she turned 18, they would fly her out, and they thought Bob Barker would be dead, and they wouldn't have to fulfill her promise. And that guy made it through. So we flew out to LA, and we were joking about, well, we couldn't fly our grandmother out because she's super Jewy and she'd always have a coupon. And then we realized, the joke is funnier if you personalize it, so I took it from my grandmother and made it about me, so it's self-deprecatory. And now I have a joke in my act that I love that comes from a real place. And at that point, I said, cool, can I make it a magic trick? Because I really loved performing that joke and that idea. So I didn't just buy a mental epic and go, let's make it the Price is Right trick. I would never have reached that point if that's how I started. I started off with the Price is Right, and then I realized, okay, mentalism made it the mental epic. And then I chose this board, not because it was necessarily the best methodologically, but it's the one that fit the story the best. There's another version of this board where your predictions are on the bottom, and that eliminates one of the secret moves. So technically speaking, it's a better version of the trick. You have to do less to accomplish the same effect. But I read from top to bottom, left to right, and I'm playing a game show with my audience. So this is the best method for me, because I'm trying to tell the story. So that's idea leading to technique. If ideas come before techniques, why would I come to lectures and learn all of these techniques, right? Why are we here? Buying stuff, learning stuff, right? Why? No? No? How'd you know I was, no? Because I'm a family magician, so the odds are very high. Most of the famous magicians are Jewish, right? Copperfield, David Blaine, Houdini, Jesus. You're building up the knowledge and skill of your craft so that when you come up with your dream effect, you have the ability to make them a reality. By all means, learn more tricks and file them in your head, but those are so that you have a library to draw from when you actually come up with your own original effects. So, what does it mean to have a unique voice? I kept mentioning that, filtering it through your unique voice, right? What does that mean? Well, first of all, what is your persona and your character? Too many of us are just magician. That's not a character. How many shows are we going to see this convention or have seen in the past where at the end of a 45-minute show, we don't know anything about the person who was on stage? That's crazy. You should know about the person. What do they like? What do they not like? What would they be like off stage? What turns them on? What frustrates them? You should know things about a performer because that's what art is, expressing your truth. Is it a magnified version of you or is it a completely different invention? Some of us are total zany characters, and that means you have to figure out what are all the aspects of it. You have to make it real. I always say, come up with your broad idea, and then come up with a secret. That's a really great way to make a funny character. Like I had a friend who wanted to do magic as an old-timer prospector. That's okay, there's something to do with it. But I was like, what if he killed his wife and nobody knows and he's really bad about keeping it secret? Now we got an act, right? He's like, pick a card. My wife used to like cards. Whatever. I really miss her. How can I miss her? We don't know if she's dead yet. Keep going. Now there's something funny. There's some three-dimensionality to it. Magnified version, that's what I am, that's what most of us are. If you're Clark Kent, who is your Superman? What are the aspects of your personality that you're going to turn into the superheroic version? That's how you figure out. You take who you are, who you think you are coming off as, and you combine it with the audience's perception of who you are, and that Venn diagram, the intersection is your character. So you take who you are, combine it with who they think you are, and that's your character. If you're a really fat guy, and you try to walk around like you're this sexy young guy, they're going to read through that. Unless your character is self-aware of that, or the audience is known, right? Like Judah Friedlander is a super funny comedian. He's a schlub. But his character is he's the world's champion. He's the greatest at everything ever. But character works because you know that he knows how he's coming off. That's what's really important. So your character is who you are and who they think you are. So magician does magic tricks is not a character, but it is a reason for committing you. A test of a strong character, that's cool. How do you know that you're a strong character? Well, can somebody do an impression of you to somebody else, and then somebody else knows who that is an impression of. That's a good test, right? Like if you're doing Matt King, how do you do an impression of him? You do a southern accent, you do it in the afternoon. Avoid the nighttime, a lot of competition. If you're David Blaine, you just get rid of all of your presentation or kind of OD on Benadryl and see what happens. Right? If you're Chris Angel, you just wait a couple years and do whatever you did for David Blaine. I met him yesterday, he was very nice, but I can't change the slides. So here we go. There's more of them. We're a train on a track and we can't go off. Art is about expressing your point of view, right? It means an opinion, which means people will disagree. That's good. If your opinion is not strong enough, then maybe everyone will agree. But a real opinion is something people might disagree with. So if 100% of people like your art, you're not expressing a strong enough opinion. One of the things that changed my life, I was at Magic Camp, and Mike Beck, who I love to death, he's amazing. He's been teaching comedy at Emerson for 30 years. He was talking to me, I was a kid, and he's like, my dream, my goal is to be 95% of the people love me, and 5% of the people hate me. And that saddened me. That's my goal. I don't want to be liked by everybody, just liked. Like vanilla pudding. Everybody kind of likes it. Nobody loves it. Right? That's why they serve it at hospitals and nursing homes. Because everyone's like, all right, fine. You don't want to be vanilla pudding. You want to be sushi. Right?
Yes.
A few people hate it. There are people in this room probably who do not like the idea of sushi. The idea of raw fish is revolting to them. But the people who love sushi love sushi. It's the highlight of their day. If you give them a gift of sushi, they're like, thank you so much. Nobody's like, thanks for the pudding. Teeny sushi. Just for funsies, let's do other food metaphors. How about this one? 100-year-old egg is like French Ferrari. Yeah, French Ferrari is like a 100-year-old egg, right? Because it's not popular in the US, but rich people in China can't get enough. I don't get it. Nobody here cares, but they're giving him like water hotels. It's crazy. Jabrizi, he's like a rainbow bagel, right? Because he's popular to see on the internet, but terrible in real life. Yeah, no, don't awe. If you're going to fake audience reactions, be good at it. Here's an example.
7 in spades.
Isn't that fun watching people react to the back of a WoW gimmick? They don't see anything change. If you're gonna fake it, be good at it. They're just looking at nothing. A cold beer on the beach is like Ozzy Wynn. This is great. I love him. I love him. He's great. By the way, why is every magician that comes out of Israel a mentalist? Is that not weird? Like every magician from Israel, mentalist, right? They all can read minds, none of them can find a single bomb on a bus. It's weird. They're all busy sending metal. Buses are metal, bombs are metal. Use your powers for good! Why should you create art? All right, here's a good quote. The successful performers of my acquaintance consciously and conscientiously take the hard way, for that will be what separates them from the herd. That's a quote from Ken Weber's book, Maximum Entertainment, which, quick plug, he's re-releasing a 2.0. That's from Maximum Entertainment 1, but the new one coming out is called Maximum Entertainment 2, Return of the Jew. And the third one's called, how can you have more entertainment than the maximum that's literally the most possible? The point of this quote is it's really hard to make original magic. It's a lot easier to steal it. But the point is that if you do the hard stuff, which is come up with an original voice and persona and character, come up with unique ideas, everything else that you want will come true. Creating original material, i.e. actual art, is hard, but it makes all the stuff you want, being booked, being liked, being known, having a good reputation, it makes that easy. By the way, if people are applauding around you and you're not, you're wrong. Am I right, guys with a white beard and Hawaii looking like a summer Santa? Okay. Comedy. Being funnier. That was the art part. That was it. That was easy. Now let's talk about being funnier, okay? I promise you a boy injured in a hilarious fashion. Here we go. Let's talk to you guys. That was funnier every single time. Do it again. Yeah. turned off around. Best part of the video is this girl who does not care. Nope, not public. And I saved that boy very easily, but I chose not to. That's just a fun time. Joke structure. How do you write a joke? A lot of you guys here have incredible amounts of magical knowledge. You know very technical things. I can show you a trick. You can tell me what page and what book. But some people don't even know the basic structure of a joke. A joke, at its very core, is tension, blowing up the balloon, and then release. Tension and release. That's all a joke is. Tension, you build it up, you pop the balloon. So you got a setup or premise that creates tension. You got a punchline. That's the release of the tension. And then, here's the best part, the tags. Comedians know that in order to maximize their laughs per minute, they have to take advantage of the fact that they've already spent time setting up a joke and come up with additional punchlines that ring out extra laughs. My act is built, I want to laugh every 10 to 20 seconds, exactly like a stand-up comedian. Right? The average comedy magician is a laugh every 2 to 3 minutes. So that's crazy, right? How do you hit that number? Tags. You get extra laughs out of a single setup, and that mathematically increases your laughs per minute. So here's a joke, and let's break it down. Oh, by the way, magic is the same exact structure as comedy. Exactly the same, right? You have a card chosen and signed, and now it's lost. Tension. Will you find the card? Revelation. I found it. I did find it. And then the additional revelations, the rest of the deck is blank, and the card is red. I'm squeezing extra moments of astonishment out of the initial build-up, and then there's the revelation. So very similar. One of the things I always say, jokes are verbal magic tricks. Jokes are just verbal magic tricks. There's misdirection, there's a surprise or a twist. A joke is just a verbal magic trick.
Give it up for Harrison Greenbaum.
I'm a New Yorker. New York? Nice. I actually got into an argument on the subway, and the guy quoted the Bible at me. That is not fair. Like, you get to quote from your favorite book, I should be able to quote from my favorite book, right? He was like, men do not live on bread alone, Matthew 4:4. It's like, everybody's a little bit magic, Harry Potter, chapter 7. Not a fair fight, right? One of those books is a classic about a man who has sacrificed himself for the good of the world, and the other is the Bible. Do you know what I'm saying, people? Oh, here's Roseanne. Hashtag I was eliminated, hashtag so is Roseanne. Yeah, that's not a good part of your reel. And she's like, I love you. Cancel. Okay, here's the joke. That's everything in the joke. And we started off with a setup, then we got to the punchline, and then tag. And this is a tag that they cut out of the show, which is, I'm glad you laughed. I did the joke the other night, and someone was like, the Bible is true. I was like, really? It doesn't have a bibliography. Real books have references. It makes them real books. Actually, the word Bible and bibliography come from the same Latin root. Do you know the word Bible means in English? It means book. That's a very cocky title for a book. God was just writing stuff down, and he was like, hey, what are you going to call that book? He's like, book? This is the book. He's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, that's going to be the next one. I'm going to call it New Book. Right? Because the New Testament is the sequel, and the Book of Mormon is the fan fiction. Don't write it down. These are my jokes. By the way, the reason I was even able to write this joke, I was legitimately on the subway, and a lady was screaming about the Bible, and in real life, I'm Clark Kent, right? So I didn't have a line to immediately tell that person. But I got on the subway, and my brain kicked into gear, and was like, what should I have said? What would have been the funniest thing I could have said? What would the Superman version of me have said? And that's where this joke comes from. And that's, by the way, how you know whether somebody actually came up with an idea or not. Right? Ask them the story of the joke. If somebody actually created something, they will have a very long and detailed history of every step in that journey. Right? I can tell you the subway platform I was on, it was the 53rd stop in Lexington. I can tell you exactly who the person was. It was a lady. I changed it to a guy because it made more sense for the joke. I also can tell you why I thought of Harry Potter, because I was really into it. Also, I can tell you the journey. There was a lot of other tags to the joke that got slashed out over time, and this is what I ended up with. That's one of the easy ways to figure out if somebody stole it or not. Ask them how they came up with it. So, 3 core concepts of comedy: contrast, compression, clarity. Here's the actionable stuff. If your joke is not as funny as you want it to be, or it's not funny at all, it's because it's not working on one of these 3 levels. It doesn't have contrast, compression, and/or clarity. So these are actionable items, right? These are ways that you can literally get into the joke, figure out what's wrong, and fix them, make them funnier. Is that guy sleeping? Oh, hi. Oh, no, it's okay. Here's instant coffee. Perfect. That's for you. That's perfect. Yeah, wake the fuck up. Okay. I can see you. Your rape is bumming me out. Or die, which would be amazing. Like, if you die, I don't want, you know what I mean? Because, like, it's one thing if you're like, how was this lecture? Like, it was really good, I learned a lot. Or, how was it? It was so funny, it killed a man. What I'm saying is, don't be selfish. Do it for us. Those are my lines, not yours. Okay. I see you. So these are the three things that you can use to make your jokes funny. Let's go over them in detail. Contrast. In every joke, there's a conflict between two forces, right? There's a force A and a force B. Mike Bett would call it story A and story B. There's two things fighting. In my joke that I just used, you got me, and then you have this guy who's talking about the Bible. You also have secularism and religion, or rationalism and spirituality. There's two clear forces in opposition. That's the engine of every joke. Contrast of expectations. That's also contrast. That's the contrast between what you expect to happen and what actually happens, right? That is also known as penis. No? No. Sorry. That? Okay, no. Ah, that's... Because there's a bunch of penises and now it's just like a huge thing. Okay. Surprise. That's what I meant to say. It's a contrast of expectations. It's surprise. The distance between those forces. So you have a force A. Oh my God, there is a child. How old are you?
10.
10? Cool. This is 50 feet.
I only asked because I started to cross and my ankle buzzed.
These are my jokes, not yours. I don't want to see you doing them. Distance between forces. A and B are going to fight, but they have to be close enough that you can connect them, but far enough that it's interesting to connect them, right? I call it the murder mystery theory. If it's too easy, if the forces are too close, right? We've all seen a bad murder mystery where we call it from the second it starts. All right, it was the butler. We figured it out. That's not fun when it turns out it was the butler. That's a waste of time. Or if it's too difficult, it turns out it was the airline pilot we've never met. Until you're like, it was the airline pilot. We didn't even meet him. How did we know it was him? That's when it's too difficult. So we want to find that just right intersection where it's not obvious going forwards, but as soon as you hear the joke, it seems so obvious I should have seen the clues all along. That's the satisfaction of a good joke. Here's me doing a simile joke. I get it. People think I'm gay because every single thing about me. It's weird when you're not gay, but people think you're gay. People will argue with you about you, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like... Sushi, you want to be sushi? Was I scared to make fun of the main guy in the show? Yes. Was it worth it? Hell yeah. Simile jokes. If there's any archetypical joke structure that is the easiest one to use and the one you can use the most often, it's A is like B. This is like this, right? Remember the murder mystery analogy, right? Apples to oranges isn't fun to compare, but apples to guns, that is fair. Right? Because they're fun when you turn them over to your teacher. Oh, is that the line? Suck it up. Okay. Comedy, I had a disclaimer. Let's write a joke, okay? Some of you may not have ever written a joke. I'm going to play a song in a second, and I'll give you about 30 to 40 seconds to write a joke. And I really would love for you to try. There are no bad versions, no bad jokes. You can write anything you want. There's no judgment. What you got to do is just try. So your analogy, your A and B, will be card tricks are like farts. Right? They are connectable, I promise you that, but they're not so close it's not interesting. If you can connect those, that'll be pretty funny. So everybody take out your notebook or your phone. Everybody got it out? I'm going to hit the song. That'll be your timer. Write a joke connecting card tricks with farts. Here we go.
Write a joke about card tricks and farts. Write a joke about card tricks and farts. Write a joke about card tricks and farts. Why are you listening to this song instead of writing about the farts? The farts. write a joke times almost up. Yes, it is.
All right. All right. Let's see if anybody wants to be a brave volunteer. All right, cool. What do you got?
After the 50th one, I want to vomit.
After the 51, I want to vomit. Okay, they're coming out of both sides. I like it. All right, cool.
Bad ones stink, good ones you don't see coming.
Okay. Interesting. You can do that. Yeah, that doesn't just apply to farts. I like it. What do we got?
Mine are great, yours stink.
Mine are great, yours stink. Okay, I like it. That was a little personal, but sure. That's fun. In the back, yes.
Card tricks are like farts. Every asshole does them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You get a prize, and the prize is this sick shampoo and soap from my hotel room. Yeah. Fresh from a smoke-filled room in the New Orleans hotel. I didn't smoke, but it still smells like it. That was great. That was fantastic. Yes, sir.
There's a deck in the neighborhood.
There's a deck in the neighborhood. Okay. I feel like once we put that in English, it's going to be hilarious. I feel like I see what you're doing, trying to do a play on word the deck. I like where your head's at.
Similar to that one, but everybody does them and they're all bad.
Yes, I like it a lot. Fantastic.
No
Oh, wait,
laughs.
back.
0 laughs.
That's okay though. That's okay. You're a sword swallower. Okay. Yes.
Both involve a force.
Both involve a force. Yeah. I would say you would not want the force either, but sure. That's great.
Jokes are like farts, or no, card tricks are like farts. Everyone has one, but not everyone wants to be held hostage at a magic convention experiencing yours.
There you go. I like it. Fantastic. These are all great. By the way, raise your hand if that was the first joke you ever wrote. Yeah, read. That would be weird. Okay, a couple people. Yeah, that's what actual joke writing looks like. There's a lot of people who say they're comedy magicians, but they've never done this kind of exercise. They've never actually written a joke. That's part of the job, is to write jokes. Sit down with a piece of paper and come up with them. We just came up with like 5 of them, and it took 30 seconds. Imagine what would happen if you gave yourself a minute. So here's a couple ones that I came up with, just for funsies. One is fine, but by 2 or 3 you ruin the party. The worst ones come from loud a-holes, so we have that, right? You can't tell yours stink. There we go. The longer they last, the more uncomfortable everybody gets. One mistake and you have a horrible mess on your hands. Right? Silent ones are the worst. So those, by the way, any of these jokes, if I'm doing a card trick and the guy farts or I fart, boom, I got 5 punchlines. And they're original jokes. You can create them, I promise. While we're talking about while we're talking about similes and comparisons, let's just have some fun. Here we go. Let's compare Schindler's Act with the new National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. What do they have in common? Relies extensively on black art. What about audience at a juggling show? And Catholic Church?
Oh no.
Yeah. They lose interest after balls drop. Sometimes kids. Okay. Linking rings and parasols. And Frank.
Oh no.
I promise you one. Better off left in the attic. No one uses parasols anymore. What are you doing? Chris Angel! Oh no! And Talent! Oh boy. Yeah, alright. Okay. That's contrast. Next scene, compression, right? Let's talk about compression. The most information in the smallest amount of space. I remember hearing a lecture from Helen Nether. She's the New York Times critic of poetry. And somebody said, why poetry? Why do you dedicate your life to poems? And she said, because it's the most amount of information you can cram in a tiny amount of space, right? Like you can have novels and they give you a lot, but you can novels worth of information ideas in a poem size. That's beautiful. And she's wrong. Jokes are even smaller. A really good joke can tell you so much and is in such a tiny space, and that's wonderful, right? So the most information in the smallest amount of space. You keep cutting until it breaks, and then you go back 1 step, right? So I keep slicing parts of my joke out until it stops getting laughs, and then I go 1 step back. So now I know it's as short as it possibly can be. Also, editing, by the way, is not looking for what's not necessary and removing it. You don't write 10 pages and start slicing off everything you think is extraneous. What you do is you figure out what you want to say, and then anything that's not in service of that, you remove. So you look for what's necessary and you remove everything else. Here's a quick exercise. Normally I would let you guys do it, but we'll run through it. This is a Nora Ephron exercise. So imagine for a moment that you are the editor, the high school editor of your newspaper. So you're a senior in high school, you edit the newspaper, this came across your desk last minute, and you don't have that much space. So the challenge is, how few words can you say this in? So let's look. We got Kenneth L. Peters, the principal of Beverly Hills High School, announced today that the entire high school faculty will travel to Sacramento next Thursday for a colloquium in new teaching methods. Among the speakers will be anthropologist Margaret Mead, College President and California Governor blah 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 blah. What is the fewest word? The answer is, normally I have you sit it and write it out, it's 3 words, right? The answer is, no school Thursday. You're writing for a bunch of students. They don't care. All they care is, there are no teachers, there is no school, that's the story. Editing is not about slicing, it's just slicing stuff up. It's about finding out what you want to say and then removing everything else. That's all you need. That's compression. So how does it apply to magic? Well, cut out anything unnecessary. You probably have moves and words and gestures that you don't need to be saying. Cut them out. Also, figure out what is magic and remove everything else that is not in direct service of it. If whatever you're doing in that moment doesn't directly contribute to how astonishing that trick will be at the end, it is not something you need to be doing. Cut it out. I was vegan for a while. You guys know vegan, right? When you give them meat and dairy and friendship. Those are the 3 things. I'm actually not a vegan anymore. I'm a vegetarian with benefits. The benefits are generally meat. That was a rule of 3 joke, right? It's boom, boom, boom. People always tell you that. They always go, oh, it's the rule of 3. You gotta follow the rule of 3. Why does that rule even exist? Well, it combines 2 things that we already talked about, compression and contrast, right? Because 3 is the smallest number required, that's compression, in order to set up a pattern and then to break it, right? 2 is not enough. If I go boom, boom, you're like, is that rich people? Is that Jews? Is it people named David? Is it magicians? What's the pattern? But if I go boom, 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 set up, break it up. Right? Because there's like that, there's a huge pussy, and then there's this cat. Okay, sorry. That's the rule of 3. By the way, you can also break the rule of 3. The whole point is surprise, right? Contrast of expectations. If your audience who's smart gets really used to the idea that you're going to do things in 3s, try 2s and 4s to throw them off. Surprise is important too, but you want to establish a base level first. So clarity. Be as clear as possible. That's clarity. Look how clear I was. How does that apply to magic? Make sure the audience is clear at every stage what's supposed to happen. Every stage. You don't need a 10-minute long process. Get to the magic. You're a magician. So simplify the process. That's pretty good. That's clarity and compression because it makes your trick shorter. Try to see how simple the process can be. How few steps can you do what you need to do in? Also remove repetitious phases. That's about contrast. People are going to get bored. Okay, you produced the first card. Now you produce the next card. Stop. You did the trick. You produced the card, which is stupid because you're supposed to be a wizard. If you need cards so bad, deck of cards sealed in a box, now go home. Why are we doing it one at a time and throwing them on the floor? It doesn't make sense. It's not magical. Also, you're making paper appear and it's not money? Sorry, that's the Jewish evaluation of an Asian act. Okay. Contrast, compression, and clarity. Yeah, contrast, compression, and clarity. Those are the 3 C's. They should be knocking around in your head because if a joke isn't working or a trick isn't working, it's failing on one of these 3 C's. Putting this all into practice. Okay, so we spent all this time talking about creating original art. That's really hard to do. That's going to be a years-long process, decades long. We talked about comedy, and in order to get funnier, the only way to get funnier is to perform it in front of an audience, right? Stand-up comedy, the instrument is the audience. So in order to get laughs, and you have to, if you're, as my friend Mike used to say, if you don't get laughs, you're a slam poet, right? That's the problem with stand-up. It goes very quickly into poetry. You need to get laughs. So what can we learn from stand-up comedians? We can learn drugs are bad. We learn a lot. Except when they're good. So that's, but no kids, they're bad. They're bad. But see me after the show. But here's the thing. No? Danger, danger. Don't do them. Why is this joke so dark? Okay. Secret algorithm. This is pretty good. It looks really simple, but if you can master it, you will become an incredible magician, I promise. This is how a comedian does it. They perform the joke in front of an audience. They take in that data. They evaluate. Did it get a big enough laugh? Did it get an applause break? What am I getting out of it? Then they adjust that joke. So they edit it, they change it, maybe they delete it, or they put it on the shelf for later. And then they perform it again. And they do that hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm very lucky. I live in New York City. It's the best place to do stand-up comedy, I think, because I can get on stage 15 to 20 times a week. And I do, because that's how I get funnier. I take a joke at the beginning of the week, and a few days in of doing it 3-4 times a night, I'm starting to figure out where the funniest parts are, and I'm editing it, and I'm shrinking it, and I'm finding those hard jokes, those jokes that just hit with a snap. That's the fun part. I come home, I'm currently dating a girl from Nebraska, which is a fun sentence to say because different parts of it are surprising to each of you. Dating a girl in Nebraska, that's 3 M. Night Shyamalan movies. Have you been dead the whole time? Just on the inside. I'm a New Yorker. But I drive her crazy because I'll come home and I'll be like, oh my God, I changed the joke slightly and it got better. Because that's what turns me on. That's what I love. Here are the problems with each part. This is really important. You don't get on stage enough. A lot of magicians don't get on stage nearly enough. How many public shows are you doing in front of audiences? And also, if your dream is I want to be on a Las Vegas stage with my own show, then you need to be doing big shows, right? It's great to work on your chops, do a restaurant gig, do a bar mitzvah. But what you want to do to get better at the Las Vegas show is do a big show. Practice the show that you want. Get on stage as much as you can. Experiment, please, break stuff. I get on stage, every single time I get on stage, I do something different. Every single time. It doesn't mean an entirely new set. It doesn't mean, the majority of it is different. Even if I have to change one line or one phrase, or I wear different shoes, or I put the jokes in a different order. Every time I go on stage, I change something so that I can learn potentially something that can make me better. I might learn that it doesn't work, and that's cool. Move on, next thing. But if I do something different and it's better and it works, now I'm that much better. So the only way to utilize the stage time is to break stuff. Take chances. All my favorite moments in my show were really dumb ideas that I let myself do. Right? I have a really dumb song in one of my tricks. It's because I was bored at the castle, and during the day I recorded a song just to see what happens if a song that I wrote could be played. How would it change the trick? Go to randomnumbersong.com if you want to hear a silly dumb song. So that's how that happened. Problems with taking the data. If you don't record your set, you don't have any data. So record every set. It's really important. I'm recording this so I can watch it back and make this lecture better. This is version 15 of my lecture. Because every time I do it, even between sessions here, I am changing it. I'm trying to make it better every time. Recording is important too because I want to focus on delivering this. I want to focus on performing. And I can't do that if I'm also trying to remember everything, right? I can't remember and do it. So I will go later, listen to it, and actually really analyze it and figure out what the changes that I made, how they affected the whole. And not taking the data correctly. There's so many people who walk on stage like, I nailed it, I killed it. Did you? I was there, no you didn't. The difference between a good performer and a great performer, or a bad performer. A bad performer will be bombing, but one person's enjoying it and they're like, see, I did it. A great performer will be killing, and then there's one person who's miserable, and you're like, man, I wish I could have done better. That's how I know the really good performers, the ones that murder. But all I can think about is that one guy, that guy. But if you're enjoying it, like, express it. Let it out. Okay. So that's last year. And then finally, with the adjustment process, be willing to get rid of a joke you don't like. Be willing to get rid of a joke that you love, right? Sometimes I have a joke that I love. I'm so excited to do it, and it's not getting the reaction I thought it was going to get. I have to get rid of it. I have to kill my darling. Maybe I have a joke that has been killing for a really long time, and now it's not. I have to get rid of it. That's a really important part of the process. No joke is too important or too special to not be immediately removed from my act if it's not working. Thinking you know better than the audience. You might be smarter than one person in the audience, right? But you're not smarter than the whole audience. You never are, especially if you start to aggregate those audiences over time. The more people you have in your collective audience, the smarter they get. you're never going to be smarter than that audience. You should never be like, oh, they don't know what's good for them. No, your job is to entertain your audience. If they're not laughing, you're not succeeding as a comedian. So you never want to put yourself above the audience. The secret algorithm. You write what you want. I don't come on stage unless I feel very passionate about that material. I'm really excited to do it. I don't know if people are going to like it, but I know that it's important to me. I'm expressing something unique about myself. I'm doing what Mike Birbiglia, I don't know if you guys have seen him, he's amazing. Yeah, he's great. One of the best pieces of advice he ever gave me, he said, comedy should feel like ripping a scab off. And he said the other version of it, by the way, was do jokes that you'd be embarrassed for your parents to be in the audience and hear. That's how personal you need to get. And I live by that. I get excited about that idea of opening myself up, letting you see what I really feel and think. So you write what you want, that's originality, but you keep what they want. If the joke isn't working, even though I love it, I'm still gonna get rid of it. That's how I stay funny. So you write what you want, you keep what they want. It's very simple. So in review, but first, a note about reviewing. Anybody here read MUM?
Yeah.
Oh, a couple people, cool. Keep your hands up. Only put your hand down if you don't read it while pooping. Same people, okay. Here's the thing. MUM is a mine, a gold mine of incredible articles to make fun of. So here's my favorite review of all time. I promise you the greatest magic review. This is the review of Boris Wilde's Mark Deck project by Payne. Boris is great, Payne is great. This is my favorite magic review. This is the review for the Boris Wilde Mark Deck. When his deck was first released back in 2005, I had a great deal of difficulty reading it efficiently. Well, that's not good. It's a Mark Deck. That's a pretty big strike. The next sentence is, since that time, however, I've had cataract surgery, and my new toric lenses have severely lessened my astigmatism, and now I find the cards much easier to read. Don't review marked cards if you're blind. That's not fair. Don't do it. And then he wrote, I'm not a big card trick guy. You're a blind guy who doesn't like card tricks. Maybe pass on this review. Why did you publish it? Why did you write it? Why did you publish it? Why did I read it? It was amazing. So in review, you are all terrible. Yeah. But guess what? If your goal is to create art, that's a good step. And also, you're here with me. You just listened to some Jew yell at you for 45 minutes. That means something. You guys know enough about your art and are passionate that you want to do something positive with it. The fact that you're at a convention learning about magic means you're not part of the problem. So, what do you got to do to be less terrible? You got to break stuff, experiment, change it up. You got to make art. That's your goal, right? You don't need to be close to somebody else's or rip somebody else off. Create original art that's true to you and your voice. Express ideas, real ideas about the world. Be original, be yourself. Don't spend all this time doing magic you're not going to do you. That's why you're doing it. And don't touch kids. Don't touch them. Don't touch them. Just stay away. And if you do that, you will be not that terrible. Questions. I have time for like 2 questions. That's my talk, by the way. I appreciate it. Any questions? I have time for like literally 2 to 3 questions. But I'm happy to do it. Yes, red shirt.
You wore on America's Got Talent?
These ones? Maybe. I think I wore a crimson once, but that was a waste of a question. Okay. I usually say there are no bad questions, but that was terrible. No, I appreciate it. Next question.
Can you give us 2 or 3 books you would recommend reading that
2 or 3 books worth reading. I honestly think that this lecture is all about just going out there and doing it. Just do it. I don't think there are any books that can help you other than get on stage and fail a bunch, and then eventually you'll succeed. If you really need a book, Art of Astonishment by Paul Harris is wonderful. Truth and Comedy by Del Close is a pretty cool book. Yes?
How do you recommend getting over the fear of doing that?
How do you recommend it? You just rip that Band-Aid off. That's the only way. I still get nervous when I go on stage sometimes, especially when it's a really big show or a TV taping. I get very nervous. But I think it's like jumping out of a plane. The first time you do it, it's very scary. But over time, even though you should still have the fear because you're jumping out of a plane, I think you just got to do it. You just got to suck it up and just get in there. Yeah. In the back. How do you recover from bombing? Just be like me, never bomb. Okay. No, just kill yourself. So, no. Here's the reality of it. Two things that I will say about bombing. First of all, you learn more from bombing than from killing. When you bomb, Louis C.K., although let's not quote him, or don't end up in a hotel room with him, but he would say it's like a murder scene. When you bomb, it's a murder scene. You do an investigation and figure out the cause of death. That's pretty cool. Seinfeld would say, if you're killing 10 out of 10 times, you're a terrible comic. You need to, because that means you're not trying enough new stuff. You need to take risks. So if you bomb 1 out of 10 shows, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And also over time, you learn how to get around it, right? You learn all the tricks to take a joke that doesn't work and make it work and make it seamless. So just get out there and book a ton of shows. If I'm doing this thing 4 times, but if I'm in New York City and I'm doing 6 shows in a night, which is a typical Saturday for me, if one show doesn't work, I don't have enough time to worry about that show. I'm already 2 shows later. So that's the other thing. Focus on the next show. It's a marathon.
What's your process for reviewing?
For reviewing?
You watch the tape, what are you going to do when you're reviewing that tape? What's your actual, are you writing to say...
Oh, after I come? That's the first part. But, COM, children, and, after I come to the tape. You just watch it, and you try to analyze it as if it's not you. Like, what would I tell that comedian?
Right.
And you really have to be like, that sucked, or like, that was great, or... Sometimes it's only in watching it later that I'm like, oh, it would have been so much funnier to do that. Because a lot of times there's things in my act where right before I go on stage, I'm like, crap, it would be really funny if this thing had a mustache. And so then I know the next time I get up, I'm going to make sure there's a mustache on that thing. One more question.
What's your second favorite review?
My second favorite review? Oh, I have 3 of them. Is that Pain? Yes! Pain! Woo! Pain! Oh no, this is a rare opportunity. First of all, big clap for Pain. I love it. Pain, now that you asked, I'm going to do this. I'll show you the other review of yours that I love. Yes, there's another one that's really good. Here you go. Pain, here it is. Ready? Okay. So Magic Review of the Year. I gave you an award, Pain. So you can't be mad. It's a tie between the one that we already shared and this one. This was, this was Norman Beck's review. But this was Game Changer by Jason Ledane. That was a good one. He wrote, unlike most reviews, I'm not going to give you my take, good or bad. You tell Norman that that's his only job. He's a reviewer. But here's wait. Oh, and then he said to go read the review by Poop Daddy of the book. So there's the mark deck. Oh, where is it? It's somewhere in here. I'll find it. No, the other review of yours that I love.
Go back and get a picture.
Sure. The other review that's really great, it's Magic Review number 2. It's when you reviewed a smartphone app even though you don't own a smartphone. You remember that? How do I just send them? You wrote them. You don't remember? Here, I'll pull it up if you want to. I'll refresh your memory. Yeah, you did a review and then you're like, PG Dubs, I don't own a smartphone. And it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is me just jazzing in real time, but it's worth it. Oh God. Get out of it. Okay, this is good. Did I find it? Yeah, perfect. That was fun time, Chris Angel. Okay, you never know, that was the best trick. That was a thingy, and yeah, here it is. I found it, Payne. We got it. Okay, so this is your review, and then we'll end, and then you guys can go to the next workshop. I have a great dislike for tricks involving the use of a personal device. In my opinion, I don't think they look very magic. Our phones have already inexplicable magic mystery devices, able to do the most remarkable things. The credit for any miracle accomplishment these technological wonders end up being focused on the device, not the deceiver. That being said, the greatest reason why I'm not a fan of these tricks is because I don't own a personal device. So this animal magic is cut off from me, and they simply won't function on my antiquated.